Good morning, students, and welcome back to art class with Mrs. Hopkins. I'm here today to talk to you about how you can draw a still life at home. A still life is a type of art that is not a portrait, it's not a picture of somebody. It's usually a collection of items that you might find around your house. Some common still lifes are pictures of flowers in like a vase, or a bowl of fruit, or just a collection of objects that you find. When I was looking at my house this morning, I wanted to do a simple still life with you. So the first thing I wanted to find was a container, and I found a vase. And then I was looking for some flowers to put in. And I didn't really have any fake flowers around the house that would fit in the vase that I had. So I went out into my yard and I saw a really pretty red flower that I have growing on the bush. I have a hibiscus bush in the backyard. So I wanted to share with you, this is the vase that I have. It's like a light pink. And then this is the flower. I picked it because it was really big and I thought it would be pretty easy for us to draw. So I made sure I had enough of a stem to fit down into the water so that I could keep this in my house and make everybody happy with this pretty red flower. I didn't rip it off really high up here because I don't want that flower to die anytime soon. We want to be able to enjoy it when we brought it inside. So the hibiscus is a pretty red flower that I have here, and that's the one I chose to draw for my still life. So I'm going to draw it with you real quick, real simple, and all you need is a pencil. I'm going to use a Sharpie because it'll show up really good on my camera, but you can just use a pencil. Here's our objective. I can draw a still life. Now, if you don't have any flowers around your house, you can grab some other things, like maybe you want to go and see what kind of fruit you have or what kind of vegetables you have. I'm going to put in some pictures right here of other examples of a still life. Let's get started with our still life today. So here's an example of one that's finished. This one is done in color. I drew it with a pencil first, then I traced it with Sharpie to make sure that I had really, really bold lines. And then I decided to add color with watercolor paint that I had at home. But you could use crayons, you could use markers, or you could just leave it pencil and paper and leave it in black and white. That's how I'm gonna leave mine today. So I've got my white paper here. We're gonna go ahead and get started. So let's get started with our still life. Remember, our objective is I can draw a still life. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to draw a still life. You're gonna know what a still life is and you're gonna be able to draw one. So for my still life, I have it sitting in front of me. You might be pulling up a picture to look at when you draw yours. Or maybe you found one in your house and you put something together yourself. That's pretty cool. I'm gonna use a Sharpie though because it's gonna show up really nice on my white paper, but I advise you to use a pencil and eraser. So the first thing I wanna look at is how much space do I need for my still life? And I know that my vase is very tall. I'm going to need a lot of space here in the middle to the bottom area, almost to the top of the page for my vase, because my flower droops a little bit lower. Also, you have to decide, should you turn your paper horizontal for a still life that takes up more space horizontally, or should you stick with vertical? Mine is gonna stay vertical because my vase is tall. If my vase was wide, more like a bowl, I would use a horizontal position for my paper. So I'm gonna stick with vertical, and the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add the opening of my vase. You gotta get started with something. And that shape is kind of an oval when I look at it. Then I'm gonna draw the long part of my vase. Ooh. All the way down. And then I notice that it starts to get wider. And I notice the bottom is very rounded. just like that. So the water will fit down in this area here. And I'm gonna add my water line just with an oval like this. And this is when I tell students to make it look like your vase isn't just floating out in the middle of nowhere. You can add a table. Today I'm gonna add a round table. I'm gonna make it look like it's sitting right on a table. So now I'm gonna go ahead and add the flower. And you wanna make sure that you can see the flower really well. So you might have to turn your flower a little bit. Mine's starting to flop a little bit. So I'm gonna turn him so that I can see him really well. And I'm gonna go ahead and get started with my flower. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look at where my petals are. And I see that I have a petal that's really big right out here. And it has another petal right next to it right here. And another one. And a big one that goes this way. And a big one that goes this way. Then I have a little stem with a leaf. But behind this is a really, really big leaf. And it's kind of a wavy leaf. So you don't have to have a perfectly straight line. When I look at the leaf, I can see that the leaf has some veins in it. And that would help all the water get out to all the different parts in the leaf. The center of my flower has something pretty cool. It has this like long thing that kind of looks like a stem, but at the end of it, it has something that reminds me of like a handful of balloons floating up in the air. And a lot of pollen. Lots of little circles. And then it has some wrinkles. And then my big stem, I can see it goes all the way down to the water. And it gets a little bit wider as it gets down there. When I look at my vase, I see my vase has some cool lines in it on the glass. So I can show the texture of the vase. So this one looks pretty cool. Just one flower. And remember, you can leave it in black and white, or you can add color. You definitely don't want to forget to sign your name. So I think I'm going to leave mine in black and white for now. At the end of this, you guys should be able to draw a still life. So our still life consists of a container and one flower. If you really like learning how to draw a hibiscus, you can add a lot more of them. You could have multiple in the same picture, but you might want to draw yours a little bit smaller. I can't wait to see how yours turn out. Have a wonderful day.